The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 150. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Visit our blog at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a special lady on who is all the way from Singapore. She is the founder of the Wedge Asia, and she's here today to share her story on self-confidence and her journey. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Stephanie Dickson. So Stephanie, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
It's so great to be chatting with you today, Sheena. Thank you so much for having me. I am, as you said, I'm based in Singapore right now. I'm an Australian-Scottish lass, and I grew up in Asia, which explains my interesting hybrid accent and my obsession with Asian food. So I guess as a third culture kid, I'm really fascinated by other people, and I'm always seeking new experiences. I spent 4 years working for an international events agency, planning luxury events and fashion weeks around the region, until recently when I decided that the entrepreneurial life was beckoning me. So I founded the Wedge Asia in June 2015, and we're really connecting conscious brands with conscious people through a series of events, and we're building a community for people who want to live more consciously. So the reason we're called the Wedge Asia is, when you're taking a shot of tequila, you don't bite into an entire lime, but you just have a wedge of lime because that's just enough. So that's really what we're focusing on, providing just enough information and just enough through our 3 slices, which are inspiration, knowledge, and action.
Awesome. Well, that sounds great. And I like that wedge analogy because, yeah.
It's a bit of fun. Everyone loves tequila.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not a fan of tequila, but I might need a whole lemon to drink just one shot. But, just a little joke there. And, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I really love the idea of love starting with you. So if you don't love yourself, it's hard for others to love you. I think that's one that's really sort of stuck with me with my self-confidence journey as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I believe too, right, especially in this journey of self-confidence, it really has to start with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people out there are always seeking, maybe a boyfriend or a friend or a family member to give them that love. But in order to receive that, they have to love themselves first so that they know the kind of love that they deserve. And I truly believe that, right? And it's easier said than done at times.
Yes, it is.
But it's a work in progress, and I believe that the more you're aware and the more you just, be in love with yourself, the more magic that will happen. So thanks for sharing that quote. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
For me, self-confident really means accepting your flaws and being kind to yourself about them. I guess it's, owning your strengths and being more comfortable, being comfortable in your own skin. And for me, it means just believing in myself and knowing that I can really do whatever I decide to set my mind to.
I love that you mentioned, accepting your flaws, right? Because especially as women, right, we nitpick every flaw that we have, whether it's a physical flaw, personality flaw. I mean, I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I look in the mirror, it's like, oh, this outfit looks bad on me. And then we, start the self-sabotage and we start punishing ourselves. And really, we just have to love ourselves regardless, right? Even if you're mad, even if you, have love handles, whatever it is, you got to love yourself for you, flaws and all, right? Because that's what makes that's what makes you beautiful. And that's how I see it. And, I love that definition. And you said, accepting your flaws, right? Because I think that's really huge. And no one really talks about that, right? Especially in personal development, everyone's just like, you got to be positive. You got to be positive. You got to be positive. And that's not really realistic,
Exactly.
Because you're going to have days where you feel like blah, and you probably just want to eat a tub of ice cream, and that's fine, right? Go eat that
There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. Everything in moderation.
Exactly, right? Go eat that tub of ice cream, and then when you're done, if you're done, in an hour or two or, the next day, then you're good, right? You got to be aware of those flaws and those feelings as well. So great definition. I really love it, and I'm thankful that you brought that up. And what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Well, to be honest, I've always been quite a confident person. I guess my friends always made fun of me for being that one that was like, I love myself, I'm amazing. And then I guess I really lost it though, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, putting so much pressure on myself. And, you know, when you have your own business, I think you have a whole new batch of struggles that you never thought you would unless you actually took that plunge. So I was really in a big state of overwhelm. I was crying almost every day at one point, and just suffocating with this feeling of not being good enough and feeling completely crippled by my anxiety. And it really was just brought with putting too much pressure on myself. And at that point, not accepting my flaws and my strengths and realizing that it's okay to not be perfect all the time, and just taking way too much on with my business, and just not really celebrating all the little wins along the way. You know, I just had such big vision and big ideas. And even though I was winning in certain aspects, I was like, oh, it's not good enough. I got to do more. I got to do more. So with that, I ended up losing a lot of my confidence along the way. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And it, you know, I think we all go through that, right? And especially being an entrepreneur, because it's like most people measure their success as how much money you're making, right? And it's like the first question people ask you, right? And that's fine. But, you know, there's other little things that can happen in your entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you overcame a fear. Maybe you had how many views to a YouTube video. Those are all still success. And
Exactly.
And people forget to celebrate those little things, because it's those little things that can really add up to the bigger things in life. And, you know, I was the same when I first started this podcast. I had no love for it when I had a bad day. I was just like so pissed. And I had to realize, like, I have to love my podcast even if it has a bad day or a good day, because it's still out there, you know, helping women with their self-confidence. So even if it just helps one person, you know, it's great. And, you know, just giving that love to it has really made a huge difference, in just celebrating, you know, every single step along the way. And I think that makes a huge difference. And we always tend to forget the little things to celebrate, because we're so focused on the big picture, right? So
yeah.
What was that point in your life when you realized, you know, you stop putting that pressure on yourself and you realize you can do whatever you want? I mean, what was that aha moment?
Well, there was actually a few. I mean, obviously, when you get to that state of sheer overwhelm, it's a lot to get back out. It's kind of like a black hole, I guess, that I managed to get myself into. So it was a lot of hard work to get out. But there were a few moments, a couple of things that really sort of stuck with me. And one of them, randomly, I found an interview with Will Smith, and he was saying that as soon as he decides he's going to do something in his mind, he accepts that it's already done. And this was a really fantastic reframe for me, one that, you know, I refer a lot back to when I have my own ideas and I'm dreaming big. It's just this idea of, you know what, it's already done and I can do this if I really want to. So that kind of just gave myself like an internal confidence boost. And then the other one was, I guess, this piece of information kind of came my way that I can't even remember now how it came my way, but it's this idea of countering every negative thought with a positive one. And obviously when you're being quite mean to yourself, which, you know, we all do, as we say, everyone's kind of mean to themselves. You're your own worst critic. But just this idea of and every negative thought was a positive one. I thought it was interesting. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it for one day. Just going to see if I can just do it for a day. And I did it for a day, and then I did it for another day. And then just, you know, these very small milestones, like, let me just be super positive today. And then it worked. And then it was the next day. And then all of a sudden, you know, you just redo the pathways in your brain, and you teach yourself that, you know, no, just keep thinking positively. But again, it's just like figuring out what a milestone for you is and dealing with that. And then the final one was mirroring. So every day I was standing in front of the mirror, and my mom was like, look, you just need to talk to yourself in the mirror, tell yourself that you have a great life and that you love yourself, and you'll see a huge change. And at first it felt really ridiculous, standing in front of the mirror being like, hi, I love you. But honestly, that was one of the biggest shifts, I think, in my own self-confidence. Just smiling at myself in the mirror and just, you know, saying, it's okay, you're doing a great job, and just being kind of like your own best friend, I guess. So that was a big change, which I recommend a lot of people should try and see the difference. Just try it for like a couple of days, like 5 days, and see the difference that it makes if they're struggling with self-confidence and love.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, you know, ever since you had those aha moments, what's your life like now?
Yeah, so I'm much more confident, much happier now. I really accepted myself and celebrate the little wins and how great my life is. I guess the power of words in the mind is really amazing. So having that big lesson in positivity that feeds positivity is a big one. And negativity obviously feeds negativity. So
thanks for sharing that. And Stephanie, to the woman who's listening to your episode, you know, she may be in a similar journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
Yeah, so I mean, in the life, you'll spend the most time with you. Like, you're the person you're going to spend the most time with in your life. So there's no point being so hard on yourself and hating. And I guess the biggest piece of advice I'd give is, speak to yourself the way you would your best friend. Look at yourself in the mirror every day and smile and laugh and just celebrate the good stuff and the little wins. Yeah, that's the advice I'd give.
I love it. And I love that part where you said speak to yourself like your best friend, because, I mean, if you spoke to your best friend, you wouldn't be like nitpicking every single flaw, right? You'd be like,
exactly.
I still love you no matter what happens, right? I always have your back. And that's what true friends are like, right?
Exactly.
So I really love that tip. And Stephanie, if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and the Wedge and, just you in general, is there any links or social media profiles that we can connect with?
Yeah, so you can join our online community, our Facebook community, which is the Wedge Asia Conscious Community. And you can head over to our website, which is thewedge.asia, and maybe sign up for a newsletter. You can get a weekly squeeze of inspiration, knowledge, and action right into your inbox.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all that info. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Stephanie, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Stephanie's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I really just want to thank Stephanie for taking the time to share her story and journey with us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
It was awesome to have you on. It was such an honor. So thank you so much. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll catch you later. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Start your inner journey to self-confidence today.